Mass layoffs in the video game industry continue. Reportedly, EA has laid off over 200 employees from its Baton Rouge offices, according to a report by Kotaku's Ethan Gach, who spoke with 3 sources familiar with the situation. A majority of the employees let go made up nearly the entire QA team for Apex Legends. The news of the mass layoff was also confirmed by multiple developers on Twitter. At TopMarks420, a former QA lead on Apex Legends who has since left the company but heard the news from former team members at EA, wrote, EA just fired its entire Baton Rouge studio, which is essentially their entire Apex Legends QA staff. According to multiple reports, the layoffs were internally announced via an all-hands meeting via Zoom. TopMarks420 added, none of the managers seem to have been informed that their entire staff was getting cut. Who knows if they are still working there too? I imagine they're about to face a decision between moving somewhere tremendously expensive and quitting. Another post from @XOXOHelloCC, a QA tester who was employed at EA's Baton Rouge office until February 28th, Tuesday morning, broke down the timeline of events, tweeting, 5 a.m. email informing me the office is closed and there's a mandatory meeting at 8 a.m. Kicked out of Slack and work email. 8 a.m. Effective immediately, all contractors through Baton Rouge with the EA Apex team are terminated. Electronic Arts. According to the report by Kotaku, the announcement was a complete surprise even to full-time supervisors. Those let go were allowed to return to the office to collect personal belongings under the supervision of security and provided 60 days severance. Unfortunately, for many employees, that severance doesn't cover the length of their already signed contracts. The general rules for contract workers apply here. The QA workers in Baton Rouge were hired and managed by a third-party company called Magnit Global, which services EA. Employees are initially signed up on a 3-month contract and then can be extended for up to a year, at which point they have to take a 3-month break before being hired on for another year. That dance can be repeated 3 times, but then companies either have to let workers go or hire them on full time. Kotaku did reach out to EA for comment, who replied via email saying, as part of our ongoing global strategy, we are expanding the distribution of our Apex Legends testing team and ending testing execution that's been concentrated in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, impacting services provided by our third-party provider. The email continues, our global team, inclusive of remote playtesters across the US, enables us to increase the hours per week we're able to test and optimize the game and reflects a commitment to understand and better serve our growing community around the world. That is the corporate line anyway, but according to multiple reports and social media posts online, the employees in Baton Rouge were well paid and a more, quote, global team, unquote, and more specifically new employees in Romania and the UK will not be receiving the same level of compensation. We here at Inside Gaming managed to confirm a significant pay difference between regions with our own source familiar with the situation. We also asked about how the layoffs and the loss of so many experienced QA staffers would impact the state of Apex Legends overall, and they replied that they and their fellow coworkers believe the next year or so worth of patches may, quote, crash and burn, unquote, meaning a lot of bugs won't get noticed or won't get reported properly, so they won't get fixed. This in turn may lead to delayed patches and content, as well as angry fans when new updates do roll out. However, the anonymous source also added, do I think this will ruin the game? No. The fan base is too huge. People aren't going to just stop playing the game because a year's worth of patches aren't up to the best quality. So it sounds like things might be rough for Apex players for a little while, but these stories about mass layoffs aren't just about the games that we enjoy, but they're also about people. More importantly than the impact on Apex Legends, our source left us with a note about the impact on their community. They said, Louisiana is an incredibly poor state while being kind of expensive to live in. This job at EA provided a lot of people who did not have college degrees or professional experience a way to get into a field that they'd always been interested in, and it helps foster that growth into them becoming more. They added many, if not all the managers at the Baton Rouge office had been entry-level testers themselves up to a decade before this moment. And then they concluded, for 200 to 250 people to suddenly be laid off in a job market that's already crashing in Louisiana, it's horrible. This is really going to set a lot of people back. As you can imagine, there's not a lot of game and tech companies in Louisiana, so there's not a ton of places for all of these employees to go. Of course, These types of layoffs have been happening across multiple industries, but that doesn't make them any less stressful for the people involved. That's why it's really disheartening to see a ton of toxic comments online already about the state of Apex Legends and the role QA testers have played in the game's development and popularity so far. In response to Kotaku's initial story, one Twitter user replied, "The way the game is, I'm more surprised they actually have quality testers to begin with." Another wrote, "Nothing of value lost since the game has always been buggy every update." And the list goes on. In an attempt to clarify some of the banter around the Kotaku story, at XOXOHelloCC posted, 1, we work in office. 2, we report bugs, we don't fix them. The devs decide what they want to fix after we report them. And 3, we are great at our job and truly cared about it. We did our best to fix what we needed to, but they do not care about us. So that's the story. Another round of layoffs in the games industry. You hate to see it. It's really unfortunate, especially with the amount of toxicity that's just out there online about QA in general, I think, but specifically in this case, I think it was kind of nasty. So I think it's okay to be openly critical, even in our comments and everything, but just remember to have at least a base level of human compassion. There are people losing their jobs. There are people who are doing really well at their jobs or trying really hard. And sometimes it just doesn't matter. Sometimes someone at the top says, "Oh, the graph went down. We need to lay a bunch of people off to even that thing out or make the graph go back up." That's the fastest answer for them. And people who make those decisions have no problem with just disrupting hundreds of people's lives in one go. So be cool in the comments. I think we've had some really cool conversations happening in our comments over the last few videos. I've seen them pop up here and there, and that's really neat to see. So I hope we can continue that trend of people just kind of being, willing to talk things out, be constructive, be positive, without demeaning. I know there's a lot of the other stuff too, but it's always a work in progress with that kind of thing. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. For more video game news and updates, stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.